Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic. Ali Baba is done loading carts with watermelons, but he catches Aladdin feasting on them. He gets him in big trouble. Later, Aladdin finishes all the food Ali Baba has, and he declares that if he can't conquer a dungeon, he'll be in even bigger trouble. The next day, they end up in a market talking about riches and big-chested women. Morgiana, a slave, then passes by, and Aladdin innocently frees her. This causes a ruckus, and he uses Ugo, his jinn, to defeat Boodle and his men. They manage to escape but get caught outside a ladies' club. Ali Baba drives a cart of wine to repay his debt, but notices that Morgiana has been recaptured. On the way, they get attacked by a huge hyacinth, which swallows up a little girl and Morgiana. Ali Baba jumps in after it, using wine to save the girls, and gets swallowed instead. Aladdin then uses Ugo to try to subdue the hyacinth, but he's not strong enough. He transports multiple barrels of wine using his magic turban and drops them on the hyacinth, thus releasing Ali Baba. From then on, they become friends and agree to journey through the dungeon together. Aladdin nudges Ali Baba by the dungeon gate, and both of them fall into it. They're welcomed by a pool of flammable water, which Ali Baba saves Aladdin from. Lord Jamil goes into the dungeon after them. They face a couple of more challenges, and thanks to Ugo, they conquer them. But Aladdin gets weaker each time. He passes out after defeating a plant beast, and Ali Baba cares for him. Unfortunately, Lord Jamil catches up to them and carries Aladdin, calling him a Magi. Ali Baba escorts Lord Jamil, and they come across a trap of flames, which he uses his knowledge of Toran to cross. Ali Baba ends up burning to ashes after crossing. Later, Aladdin wakes amidst Lord Jamil and his team and gets Morgiana to open up to him. As soon as she says Ali Baba is dead, he turns up alive and well. He escapes with Aladdin in his magic turban and invites Morgiana to go with them. Unfortunately, she's not fast enough to make it. They both then access the highest floor of the dungeon. This place is called the Necropolis, and they traverse it until Lord Jamil catches up to them. He faces off against Ali Baba and loses to him in a sword fight. Unfortunately, Jamil sends Morgiana to fight them, and she smashes both men against the wall before struggling to kill Ali Baba. Aladdin regains himself and subdues her using Rook energy. He then retrieves his flute from Lord James, who asks Aladdin to choose him as king. He blatantly refuses, and just then, Aman, the jinn of the dungeon, shows up and acknowledges Ali Baba as king. He and Ugo converse, and he declares Ali Baba as the one who cleared the dungeon. The place begins to quake, making Aman create an escape route for them. Morgiana finally joins them, and as they leave, Aman attaches himself to Ali Baba's sword. They part ways as Ali Baba appears outside with all the villagers looking at him and his riches, while Aladdin gets transported elsewhere by the Rook. Boodle now works for Ali Baba, and Morgiana even stops by to thank him. Meanwhile, Aladdin wakes up to see Shaman Shagan, or Granny, who explains that Rook are the souls that comprise the never-ending flow of life. The Kuga clan is one big happy family, but they think Aladdin is a spy for the Ku Empire. Later, Hakue Ren of the Ku Empire visits the village with a proposal for them to join the Empire. She talks to Granny about her dream to unify the world. Ryosai, head of the Ku's army, is rude to the villagers. Doge tries attacking him, but Granny has him stand down, and both parties part ways. That night, Aladdin pays Hakue a visit and finds her cause to be worthy. Ryosai kidnaps a couple of girls from the Kuga clan, and they pursue them. They catch up to them but don't kill anyone as per Granny's orders. The soldiers return with the ladies, and all's well again. That's until Granny gets shot with an arrow. Aladdin quickly transports Granny to the main village. Meanwhile, Ryosai lies to Hakue that the Kuga clan shot one of their soldiers. This makes Hakue head for the clan, leaving Ryosai in charge. The clan heads out to fight the Empire and comes across Hakue on the way. They try to attack her, but give her a listening ear when she doesn't move an inch. Granny then shows up and personally submits to the Kuga clan to Hakue. She dies later on, and Aladdin gives her soul a send-off. As Hakue is returning, Ryosai has already mobilized soldiers to kill her and lie about it. She summons Paimon, a wind djinn, to grant her magical powers. She defeats many of them, but it's not enough. Luckily, Aladdin shows up and uses Rook to defeat the remaining soldiers. He then activates Paimon for the first time. Afterwards, Aladdin heads for Kishan on a carriage, bidding the people of Kuga goodbye. Morgiana embarks on the journey to her homeland, as she promised Aladdin. She's traveling with Sasha and Layla, but the road to Balbad is packed with dangerous thieves. Later, Morgiana infiltrates the camp of thieves and beats every one of them, leaving Mr. Fatima, a slave trader who wants her because she's a Fanalis. He uses his desert crow to poison her, and she passes out soon enough. She wakes up next to a little girl, whom she comforts and promises to save. The next day, the girl falls ill, and Mr. Fatima tries feeding her hyenas. Morgiana summons the strength because of Golta's voice and breaks free from chasing off the hyenas. She also defeats a pack of desert tigers before collecting the key to free all the other slaves. There, she meets Aladdin, who's also been captured. Layla and Sasha are already approaching with help, but they notice that it's not needed since they too know Aladdin's capabilities. He and Morgiana then resolve to go to Balbad together. Sinbad, king of Sindria, gets robbed and stands naked in front of Aladdin and Morgiana on their journey to Balbad. They source him some clothes and escort him to town, where he offers to cover their room fees. Morgiana sees another Fanalis named Masrur and later asks a maid for directions to her home. Meanwhile, Sinbad meets with the king of Balbad. Both parties complain of a fog troop that robs the rich and distributes it to the poor. Ironically, their leader is Ali Baba, but Aladdin doesn't believe it. Sinbad introduces himself and his exploits after seeing Ugo. He then asks for their help defeating the fog troop, and they agree. Later that night, Jafar escorts Aladdin and Morgiana on their scouting, and they come across the fog troop, who wield swords with various abilities. They apprehend Jafar and Morgiana, but can't catch Aladdin because he summons Ugo. Just then, Ali Baba comes to the forefront and reveals himself. Aladdin reminds him of their promise to each other, but Ali Baba easily dismisses him and continues robbing the nobles. Afterwards, Qasim beseeches him to fight with him just like they did as kids. Ali Baba's conscience pricks him until Morgiana shows up and carries him to Aladdin by force. Ali Baba and Qasim played together in the slums. His mother was kind, but Qasim's father was abusive. He left and never came back, so Qasim and his sister lived with Ali Baba's mother until she died. He joined bad people to steal, and one day, the king of Balbad approached Ali Baba, telling him that he's his son. He's taken to the palace, where he's polished for 3 years, and sneaks out one night to reunite with Qasim. There, he reveals that tunnels can lead into the palace, and on the day the king died, Qasim invaded the palace, stole valuables, and set it on fire. After regaining consciousness and seeing his father dead, Ali Baba skips town and defeats the dungeon years later. Afterwards, he returns to Balbad only to see the slums have been eradicated and Qasim's sister dead. He then joins the fog troop to try and change things. Sinbad eavesdrops on his conversation and overhears everything, including how Aladdin offers his help. Qasim and the troop break in under the guise of saving Ali Baba, only to get their asses beat by Sinbad, Masrur, and Jafar. Sinbad offers to join the troop after defeating Ali Baba. After much back and forth, he agrees to let Sinbad help. They approach Ahmed, king of Balbad, about the situation of the people, but he disregards Ali Baba as a prince, asking his guards to kick him out. Just then, the Magi with dark Rook passes by Aladdin. Markio, the banker, shows up, and Judal, the priest of the Ku Empire, joins shortly after. Apparently, the king had signed over trading rights to the empire. Ali Baba goes home depressed, but thanks to Sinbad, he and the people have hope again. Judal interrupts them, looking for Sinbad, and then notices that Aladdin is a Magi just like himself. He attacks Ali Baba, and Aladdin readies himself to retaliate. As they both attack with Magoi, their attacks simply cancel each other out. So, Judal converts his Rook to lightning magic, and Aladdin only survives thanks to Ugo. Upon seeing the jinn, Judal uses ice magic to attack them. Ugo gets hit but doesn't give up. Judal is just happy not to be bored, and they continue back and forth until Ugo uses his last strength to clap Judal to unconsciousness. He attacks him with palms of fire, dealing the finishing blow. Just then, a group of unknowns fly in on a carpet and retrieve Judal. Princess Kugyoku summons her dungeon weapon and uses water to attack Ugo until he returns to his flute. Aladdin tries attacking her. She indulges him but sends her men to kill everyone else. As she's about to transform, Sinbad absorbs her power, and she reverts to normal. The princess blushes after finding out who Sinbad is, and she withdraws all her men. Aladdin uses too much power trying to bring back Ugo, so he passes out. The people begin to worry, but Sinbad promises that help is on the way. Just then, Samad, Ali Baba's brother, drops by, and he confesses that he's the snitch supplying the troop information. He explains how Ahmed had fallen for the banker's gimmicks and gotten the whole nation indebted. Ahmad plans to turn Balbad into a slave nation as payment. In 5 days, Ahmed will marry Princess Kugyoku of the Ku Empire and also sign off the citizens of Balbad as collateral. This gives Ali Baba 5 days to figure things out, despite Sinbad having doubts. Later, Sinbad sits down with Ali Baba and tells him that he has to become king. He revolts against this idea even after Sinbad offers to support him. As he's soliloquizing, the distraught villagers hound him for answers, and he's saved by Qasim. He tells Ali Baba that he's going to arm the masses and prepare them for an all-out war. Ali Baba disagrees, and Qasim punches him out of annoyance. Afterwards, Ali Baba meets Sinbad to teach him how to maximize his dungeon weapon, Amun. He undergoes vigorous training trying to use Jinn Equip, a technique that enhances your weapon. Meanwhile, Sinbad plans to pay Ahmed's bride-to-be a visit. Aladdin is still not awake. Ali Baba drops by to see him before infiltrating the palace. The banker gives Ahmed 3 high-level guards, and just then, Ali Baba comes to challenge him to a fight. He sends the elephant monster after Ali Baba. During the fight, Ali Baba keeps trying to activate his Jinn equipment, but he cannot until he's near death. When he finally activates it, he cuts the elephant monster in half. The next set are regenerative monkeys, but as Ali Baba is fighting them, he's running low on magic. Morgiana enters, forcefully hitting the biggest monkey in the face. She boosts Ali Baba deeper into the palace and continues to battle the monkeys. Word gets to Sinbad, and he immediately heads for the palace. Ali Baba slays the last high-level guard, but gets apprehended by the soldiers around Ahmed. He gets a chance to talk thanks to Samad's bravery. Morgiana finally defeats all the monkeys, and inside the palace, Ahmed tries to discourage Samad, but Ali Baba intervenes, slapping him across the face. Rook begins to circulate Aladdin and Judal, and Princess Kugyoku makes her way to Balbad Palace. There, she requests who to marry, only for Ali Baba to declare plans to nullify the monarchy and make Balbad a democracy. Sinbad shows up with other diplomats of the Seven Seas Alliance and assures the princess that the new Balbad is a member. Based on her hatred for Ahmed and her confusion on what to do next, she simply invites Sinbad to the Empire to discuss details with her father personally. Ali Baba then makes a good case to the people of Balbad, reiterating the benefits of the Republic, but Ithnan, a dark mage, spreads ill will, sending Qasim and his men to cause a ruckus. Ithnan stands at the top of all the chaos as Qasim poisons the minds of the masses by saying that the monarchy is an enemy they need to defeat. Aladdin and Ugo have a conversation inside another realm, where he warns him of reverse flow of fate and how Ali Baba is falling victim to it on the outside. He then pushes him to learn the truth about Solomon so he can become a stronger Magi and combat the darkness Ithnan is trying to put into the world. On the outside, Qasim draws closer to Ali Baba, accompanied by other members of the troop, wielding various metal vessels. Ali Baba manipulates the power of Amun and cuts off all their special swords. After having Qasim's neck by his sword, Qasim asks for a death match, which Ali Baba reneges on. Kasim remembers Ka Kuban's promise of power and stabs himself in the heart with his metal vessel. Soon enough, he transforms into a dragonoid demon full of dark power. Ali Baba is skeptical about attacking his friend, but when he does, the demon regenerates his arm using dark rook. Sinbad tries to help but gets flung into the distance. Ali Baba then resolves to finish things, but Judal takes control of the demon with Kasim still inside it and apprehends Sinbad with ice magic. Aladdin approaches with a boatload of rook. Morgiana boosts Ali Baba into the air, but the attack is pointless. The demon then shatters Amun, but Ali Baba doesn't give up. Morgiana throws him again and again, but when he's down and tired, Aladdin shows up. He uses Jinn transmutation and fire magic to attack Judal, but it doesn't work on him. Aladdin is left to ask for Ali Baba's help, and he uses Solomon's wisdom as his trump card. He converts Rook to fire once again, and Amun uses it to reforge himself. Ali Baba then attacks the demon. Unfortunately, he gets sucked into the darkness where Kasim already is. Outside, Aladdin reminds Judal of his true and sad past, disheartening the Magi. Ali Baba and Kasim argue over their differences in life and even fight each other until Ali Baba feels Kasim's pain and bursts into tears. Kasim, in turn, bursts into tears as both friends finally merge their worlds and break free of the dark Jinn. Unfortunately, Kasim passes away afterwards, and Ithnan flees the scene with Judal. They don't get far as Masrur, Jafar, and Sinbad collaborate to blow Ithnan to pieces, but his head is still alive underwater. A snake escapes from it, and we see the worshippers of Al-Taman dictate how small of a hindrance the loss is. Ali Baba's first line of action is to rebuild Balbad, then educate the people on what a republic is. Unfortunately, the snake that escaped Ithnan bites him, and they trivialize it. The Ku Empire approaches Balbad in their numbers, and Sinbad advises Ali Baba to leave the country. He refuses, only for Sinbad to knock him out and have his team transport Ali Baba to Sindria. A month passes and Sinbad returns with news of the negotiations. He informs Ali Baba that the citizens won't be enslaved, but certain trading rights have to be relegated to the empire. He then tells him about Al-Taman, an organization with a singular goal of spreading chaos. Just then, a sea beast attacks Sindria, and Sinbad makes Yamraiha and Sharkan defeat it so Ali Baba and Aladdin can see who will be teaching them. They throw a party where Sinbad introduces Hina Hoho, Draken, Pisti, Spardos, Yamraiha, Sharkan, Jafar, and Masru to Ali Baba and Aladdin as his 8 generals. Ali Baba and Aladdin start their respective trainings and learn new skills. Afterwards, Sinbad takes Ali Baba to get a new metal vessel for Amun to transfer into. Haku Ryu Ren, Prince of the Ku Empire, pays Sinbad a visit, and Princess Kugyoku stealthily escorts him, only to challenge Sinbad to a duel on the grounds that he played with her body. Apparently, before he left, he'd woken up naked next to the princess. No one believes Sinbad is innocent until Yamraiha uses her magic to expose the truth. This makes the guards who connived with Ka Kuban confess their part in the misconception. The prince apologizes on their behalf and pulls Sinbad aside for a private conversation. He warns him of the underground coup organization planning to attack Sindria, and when asked why he's helping them, the prince declares that he hates the Ku Empire. Prince Haku Ryu pleads for Sinbad's help in taking down the empire, but Sinbad feels he's still too inexperienced. He sends him off to observe Ali Baba, Aladdin, and Morgiana so he can grow. Morgiana gets her new metal vessels made into bracelets but has no idea how to use them. Just then, the prince and his sister interrupt them, informing them of Sinbad's orders. Ali Baba's snake bite worsens, and they move him indoors. As Sinbad comes to inspect the situation, Ithnan appears and stains Sinbad with his blood, cursing both him and Ali Baba to fall in depravity. In Toran, there's a dungeon called Zagan. Sinbad believes the cure to the curse lies there and makes Ali Baba, Aladdin, and Morgiana scope it out. Haku Ryu then offers to follow them. They come across a little girl who lost her parents to the dungeon and refuses to let her travel with them. The prince promises to either save her parents or kill every monster in the dungeon. They're still paddling towards Zagan when it sends out invisible threads and pulls all of them in at once. Inside the dungeon, they see so many doors leading to numerous talking animals. They fight off a huge bear and they meet Zagan himself afterwards. In his lair, he uses human life force to grow his mutant animals. He reiterates how much he hates humans and would rather die in his dungeon. Just then, he produces the girl who'd asked to follow Alibaba. Apparently, she'd be stubborn and come anyway. Zagan tells them to locate the treasure room if they want to save her. In their first trial, they had to defeat monster bunnies with shield abilities. Thanks to Alibaba and Aladdin's fire magic, they successfully burn up all the monsters. Only Hakuryu is helpless. Zagan is angry that they keep helping each other and splits them up to face golems on either side. Hakuryu tries his best this time but ultimately passes out, leaving Morgiana to use her strength. Meanwhile, Alibaba and Aladdin easily defeat theirs. After waking up, Hakuryu cries his eyes out, lashing out at everyone in sight. Alibaba then manages to calm him down by sharing his own story. As they go deeper into the dungeon, Yamraiha tracks them from Syndria. All of a sudden, their rook signature disappears, and Judal breaks through the nation's barrier. As he seeks an audience with Sinbad, Alibaba and co are busy slaying a pack of monster wolves. Judal complains about Aladdin being an anomaly and how the All-Thalmen want him, his team, and even Sinbad all dead. Back in the dungeon, they come face to face with Zagan, and he informs them that he's only a copy of the real Jinn. Out of anger, they try to attack him, and he sends them falling to their deaths. In that moment, Morgiana activates her household vessels and manages to bring everyone back up. She dives in to kill the copy's real body, and Eamon helps her with a massive flame attack. Unfortunately, all her magic gets drained and she passes out. They proceed to the last floor of the dungeon, and Ithnan is already waiting to kill them all. Hakuryu takes Morgiana and Tiari and heads for the treasure room while Aladdin and Alibaba fight Dunya Mustasim and her eternal knight, Isaac. Dunya talks down on Alibaba before activating her dark metal vessel, just like Kasim's. Meanwhile, the curse on Alibaba continues to spread. She manipulates the sand, turning it into drills to attack Aladdin, while the knight faces Alibaba to test his sword skills. Back in Syndria, Judal reveals that his only duty was to destroy the barrier and that members of All-Thalmen were on their way to war against Syndria. Sinbad immediately gathers his 8 generals and has them prepare all the soldiers for war. Aladdin and Alibaba notice that they're losing, so they change tactics. Aladdin uses Magway shots to wear down Dunya, while Alibaba transforms Amen into a shorter sword. This improves their performance until Ithnan intrudes, changing Dunya's form to something stronger. Isaac reattaches his body and attacks them with super speed. By this time, Hakuryu had rejoined the fight. The sorcerer shows the team Syndria and how the All-Thalmen are encroaching on it already. 6 out of 8 generals battle dark metal vessel wielders. Meanwhile, Dunya activates her extreme magic, Rhea Blade, and Aladdin makes a vapor cover under which Alibaba battles Isaac. This continues, but when Isaac is about to land a finishing blow, Hakuryu replaces Alibaba and gets his arm cut off. Dunya's extreme magic manifests in the form of hundreds of swords falling from the sky. In Syndria, Hinahoho brings down multiple monsters in one swipe. Shakar battles a swordsman of equal footing but gets slashed in the back, and Masru goes toe-to-toe with a dark vessel user. Yamraiha takes charge of an aerial battle. Draken leads the archers, and Pisti tries sending water beasts towards a black mass approaching Syndria, but the mass consumes them whole. Aladdin had used light refraction to deceive Dunya, and Alibaba finally took Isaac's life. Thanks to their various household vessels, the generals defeat their opponents. Ithnan kills off Dunya, making Alibaba sympathize with her. This kickstarts his darkness, which ends up consuming him as he kills Ithnan and becomes the new Dark King. Morgiana awakes and immediately joins the battle to get Alibaba back. Draken tries burning the black mass, but it just keeps coming. So Princess Kugyoku offers to help. Upon seeing that Morgiana is losing, Hakuryu summons Zagan, and his arm gets replaced. He and Morgiana then create a window for her to break Alibaba's headpiece. Quickly, Aladdin uses the wisdom of Solomon to penetrate Alibaba's consciousness. In Sindria, Yamraiha gets stripped of her vessel but ultimately uses it to refract her opponent's attack, burning off most of the black mass. Kugyoku uses her water magic to get rid of the remaining black mass. Aladdin manages to convince Alibaba of his worth, and they both head deeper into the darkness. Meanwhile, Sinbad tracks down Ithnan, counters his curse with one of his own, and disintegrates his body. In the darkness, Alibaba and Aladdin come across what's left of Ithnan and use the wisdom of Solomon to help him pass on rather than kill him. Both Alibaba and Aladdin awaken to meet their friends surrounding them. Morgiana passes out again, but they gather the villagers who Zagan had held captive alongside the treasure and make their way out of the dungeon. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content.